Greetings, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I love beer. I do. I'm a guy who has been going out to all sorts of places his entire adult life, pretty much. And I drink light beers, dark beers. I try to find the obscure back alley sorts of places, if you will, the dive bars of the world that brew their own. I have friends who do it in their garage and stuff, and I like to try their stuff too. I basically like to try lots of different kinds of beer. Auroch Digital, who has graciously sent me a key for this game, has decided that they would like to make a game called Brewmaster, Beer Brewing Simulator. And they've reached out to me and partnered with me to create a sort of tutorial that could walk you through the beginning of the game to give you a look at how the game works. So I'd like to go ahead and say thank you to them for sponsoring this video. And I'm going to click New Game. I'm going to disable the tutorial because I'm going to walk you through stuff myself without all the pop-up windows stopping us. But I'm going to go into Brewmaster mode. This is sort of the story mode, if you will, for it. You can also go to free play and have access to everything right away off the start, like a sandbox mode. But I'm going to go to Brewmaster mode here. So with Brewmaster mode, you first start out with opening up the Brewers Quarterly magazine, which is sitting right over here. It's a little bit, it's not really hidden, but you just gotta look down and see it. And it's right here. Hit E to read. And it says, "Greetings, Brewer," and he walks you through the game and the fact that there's stuff here, okay? You can read this stuff yourself. I'm trying to condense this little tutorial into a relatively shorter video. So our objective, though, is to complete a job, okay? So that's what we're going to want to try and do. So Brewers Quarterly is this magazine, and as we open it up, we're going to see that they have two jobs for us. One is to brew a dark beer, and one is to brew a sensational citrus. Okay, now you could choose either one of these as you'd like. I actually was sent a care package in real life by Auroch Digital. I'll put a picture on the screen right now of what that looks like. But they sent me some stuff, including an American Pale Ale that they've brewed and put in this custom can. It is sweet. It's an actual beer. And so for this purpose, we're going to make the American Pale Ale. This is not the exact recipe that they've sent me, because I have this little recipe that's I'm showing you on the screen now that they've sent me in this hard copy. It's pretty cool. We're not going to make this exact recipe, but I will show you that you can tweak the recipes in the game to create your own if you'd like to. First, just to go over how it works, though, this is the job, and we need to submit this to earn reputation. In this case, we're going to earn 1 mastery point, which is our reputation, and we'll unlock new jobs, recipes, etc. We can also unlock the long neck bottle, allowing us to use this iconic, instantly recognizable classic beer bottle design. We're also going to gain 25 more beer tokens, which we can use to purchase various things, and we will do that in this video. So the difficulty for this is pretty straightforward. This is the lowest difficulty in the game, and we'll go ahead and hit track job. Okay, so now that we're tracking the job, we can go in and just take a look around here really quick. And you have this nice little lobby. It's very cozy. There's a fireplace and everything. It's very nice. You've got this little furniture cupboard that you can open up, and you can store various different furniture in here. And absolutely, you can decorate your own place. That's the thing that's built into this game too. It's nice. So as we go into the kitchen, we're going to spend most of our time in this room. This is the kitchen where we brew our beer, okay? I'm going to hit F1. Sensational Citrus is the tracked job. And if we open this up, we can see that the recent recipes that we're going to be looking for this, we're looking for this one right here, American Pale Ale, okay? This is extract. So as we click this, you're going to get information overload. But luckily, if you hover over everything in here, it will tell you what it is. There's lots of pop-ups, lots of hover stuff here, so you can know what everything is. So for example, we're taking a look at American Pale Ale extract. We can see ABV. If you're wondering what the heck is ABV, alcohol by volume, right? You can look at this and it will give you an example, or it'll give you an explanation as to what ABV is. IBU is your bitterness rating. In this case, ours is going to be 45.2 IBUs. You have color, which works on a standard reference method. In this case, it's 9.6. That's a fairly light beer. It can get higher. You can go up to the mid 30s, 40 plus, etc. You can get really dark beers. This one's gonna be fairly light. And you can scroll through all of these different things, and you can see what they all are if you're interested. What we're most concerned about, though, is the instructions. How do we brew this beer? Well, instructions are over here on the right. You can see all the different equipment that we're going to need, as well as the different grains, hops, yeasts, etc. Now, what we're going to go is we're going to go through all of these different things. We're going to make sure we have these first, And if we don't have any of them, then we're going to purchase them. Here are the steps we're going to want to follow as well. And to get this on the screen so that we don't have to keep looking at this book, we can simply pin the recipe with this button right here. We can also, if we choose, and this is what I would do if I was going to do this Auroch Digital American Pale Ale that they sent me, I would click this button here and we can actually edit the recipe and make a new version of the recipe if we'd like to as well. So for the purposes of this little tutorial video, if you will, we're going to go ahead and click Pin Recipe. All right. So recipe is going to appear on the right side. First thing we need is water to brew in a container, okay? But before we do that, I want to make sure we have all of the ingredients that we're supposed to have. So back to F1, back to this. We're looking for grains. We need ultra pale crystal steepable, 400 grams. We're also going to need tro, I think it's how you say it, is tro, and also Wenatchee hops. These various different types of hops. So first, let's go ahead and make sure we have the grains. So we're going to go over here to over here, and we do not currently own any grains at all. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. We do have, however, in the crystal malt, we do have this ultra pale crystal steepable. So back to this over here. I just want to check this really quick. And ultra pale crystal steepable, this is what we need actually. So we're already good. I was misreading this before. So it's not, we don't have any grains. We just need this. There's a different kind of grains, right? So we have the crystal ones, and this is ultra pale. We're going to be using this, all right? And we're going to need a whole bunch of this. In this case, we're going to need 400 grams. So why don't we go ahead and just pull that out right now because we can use it. So we're going to click this. We're going to go to retrieve, and we're going to choose our quantity. And in this case, I want to hit E until I have 400 grams of it and hit enter. Okay. So that's going to put it on the hot bar at the bottom. And I'm just going to go ahead and pop this right down on the counter here, because we can just let this sit here so it's out. Next, we want to make sure we have the hops that we're looking for, okay? Now, on the right side, you can see the different instructions, and we can actually use O and P to skip through these as if we're checking them off as if we've done them. What I wanted to get to is the hops. We're looking for Troa and Wenatchee. I think that's how you say them. So let's take a look in here. You can see we have Polar Down, Ruggles, Marauder, and Magnus. And that's it as far as our hops. So we do not currently have the Troa and the Wenatchee hops. We don't have the ingredients that we need to do this beer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit F1 again. And what we want to go to is the catalog, which is right up here. It's the F key. This is where what we use to actually purchase new things. So right now we have the stainless steel pot. That's over there. We're going to start using that, but we can also get bigger ones as we go too. We have various different categories of stuff we can do here, different types of containers and stuff we can use for fermenting and all those sorts of things. But what we're looking to do is we're going to want to get into the ingredients tab up here. And here's all these different kinds of hops that we do not currently have access to. And what we're looking to do is we're going to come down over here to, I believe it's a Cascadian hop. And we're going to want these. We're going to want Troa and Wenatchee. These two are what we want to purchase. So we can hit this and we can get an idea of what they are, descriptions of them. We can go ahead and hit buy. We're going to use 5 of our tokens for this, or I can just add to the cart and keep shopping. So I'm going to go ahead and get our Wenatchee here too and add that to the cart as well. Okay, so now if we go to our cart, upper right hand corner, like any other website, we can now purchase everything in the same transaction, and that's going to cost us 20 tokens. So when we do that, it's not going to appear in the fridge right away. Instead, it gets delivered, and it gets delivered in a reasonable amount of time. And by reasonable, I mean 0.0 seconds. It's here. Yeah, delivery box. It shows up at the front door. So we're just going to go ahead and hit this, and we can hit store all. And now once we store all of them, they are all in the fridge. So now I know I have the right ingredients. I'm going to go ahead and start this process. So the first thing I'm going to, I'll show you that they're in here right here. So boom, we have the 2 ingredients now. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, let's start actually doing this. 21 liters of water is what we need. First, let's go to the equipment cupboard. We're going to grab our small pot. This can hold 25 liters of water, so it will be sufficient for what we need. We're going to put it in the sink. We're going to use V to remove the lid, and then we're going to use E to turn on the water. The water is going to start filling this up. If I hover over top of it, I can see the progress. It's right there, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. It's going to take a while to fill up. While it's doing that, we can make sure we have the ingredients that we want. So we can also speed up time, and we will do that. But I like to kind of multitask whenever I can. So we're going to do the second step there, which is to add malt extract to brew container. And that means we're going to need light malt extract, 2.5 kilograms. So let's go over here. We're going to go to the base malts, and we're going to find the light malt extract here. We're going to retrieve this, and we can choose various different quantities. I want 2 kilograms in 1 cup, and then I'm also going to do 2 instances of the 250 gram ones, and that's going to give me a total of 2.5 kilograms. So I'm just going to place this over here. I'm going to place these on the counter like this, and they're ready to go. We already have the ultra pale steepable right here, that crystal, so that's good. And so that's all the ingredients we need until we start boiling that water. So let's come over here. You can see that the water is only at 7 liters, and it's going to take us a while to get to 21. So what we're going to do is hit the T key. This is going to open up our timer, and we can actually use this for time acceleration. So I can use the mouse wheel, screw up to 2 times speed, 5 times speed, 10 times speed. You can go 100 times speed if you want to. Things can get pretty crazy. And if you do overshoot for some reason, which I will now do intentionally to show you, if you do overshoot for some reason, let's say you're like, oh no, I put too much in there, and you quickly shut the water off, and you're like, oh no, I needed 21 liters, and I only have 23.6 liters. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to pick up this, and you can use the R key to pour into the sink. We can actually pour some of that extra water out. And so now we can get ourselves down to around as close as we can to 21 liters. I think 2106 is good enough. So 2106, we'll just chalk up the rest of it to basically whatever's going to boil away, right? Some water is going to get lost in boiling, right? So let's put it on the stove, and we're going to flip that on. Now, as we do that, we're going to see that the water temperature begins to rise. So the next step, we added it. Let's go ahead and click that step off with the P key. And we want to add malt extract to the brew container. So we're going to take this container here, use that same R key to pour the extract into the container here. Now, if you're ever wondering, how is my brew going? Like, what's actually happening with this right now? I'm seeing it change colors. I wish I could get some details as to what's going on in this, as I'm pouring it in. Well, you can with the G key. The G key will give you what's called X-ray mode. And this will give you real-time analysis of your brew as you do it. So you can see everything about it just by hovering over top of it. You can see the fermented sugars. Contamination is 1% right now. We're going to try to, whoops, wrong button. We're going to try to address that as fast as we can. But you're going to have some contamination. You want to limit it as much as possible, but you're always going to have at least a little bit. Right now it's 1%. So we'll go ahead, and I'm just going to throw these containers away in the garbage because I like a tidy kitchen. I don't like things laying all over the place. So there's a trash here now. There wasn't before. There's also cleaning equipment for later too. That's nice. Okay, so we did this. We added this. Let's hit the P key, and now it says add steepable grain to the brew container. So we're just going to do this, and we'll go ahead and hit E to place the item. So this is now in there. We've got the steepable grain, and it's doing its thing. All right, and all is good. So now all we need to do is make sure we heat the wort until it's boiling, 100 degrees Celsius. Again, we can use the time acceleration function to just really zoom ahead, and you can see that the temperature rises really fast. 200 times speed. And there we go. Contamination is going up as well. You can see that happening too. It only goes up a little bit, but it's going to be there for a bit. And as we go, we're going to get to, let's say, 99 degrees Celsius, and then we can move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and mark that as done. So we want to remove the steepable grain from the container, and then we're going to add our hops, okay? So let's go back down to, I kind of want it to be a little bit warmer, actually. Let's really get that temperature up there. Yeah, like 99-ish, okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and grab those hops, okay? So we're going to say that we want to open the fridge, and we want to grab 20 grams of this one. That's what the instructions say. And 50 grams of the Wenatchee, if that's how you say it. Wenatchee, yeah. There we go. Okay, so I've got those two. Now we'll just go ahead and place those here and here. Now that it's boiling, I can go ahead and take this out. That's the next step. So we'll go ahead and mark that as complete. Remove this, put it over there. And the next thing we want to do is add hops. The 20 grams, we're going to add this, and we want to only place it in there for 50 minutes. So we're going to place it there, and then we're going to make a mental note of the time. Currently, the time is 12:23 p.m. So we're looking to leave this in until around 1:13 p.m. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to put this over here, back in the trash. And then the next step after that, I'm just going to go ahead and mark it as complete. The next step after that is to put the wanachi in the 50 grams for 10 minutes at that point. And then finally, we're going to remove both of them at the end of that 10 minutes. So as we see, contamination is only at 0.75%. That's pretty good. Things are boiling, right? We get to boil a lot of those chemicals and a lot of those unwanted things away, right? So we're going to leave the cap off of this during the boiling process because we want to ensure that we reduce contamination. There's a lot of other things that we can do that will ultimately lead to contamination, and I'll kind of tell you a couple of those things as we go. So you always want to make sure that when you're boiling the stuff like this, you leave the cap off so that that stuff can get out of the pot. All right. So we're going to want it to be 1:13 p.m. So let's go ahead and do the timer. And we're going to just zoom ahead. I think maybe 100 times speed is fine for now. I'm not going to really do anything with faster speeds during this. And this is a really relaxing game. It's not meant to be action-packed. And, you know, the brewing process for beer, you know, making your own beer, it's a long process. Things take time. And so this game also is going to allow you to experiment with your own recipes and to try to figure things out as you'd like to, okay? Was it 313, right? Or 113? I think that's what it was. I already forgot the time. You know what? This is close enough. We'll see how well we do. So we're going to want that in for 15 minutes. That's what we're trying to do. And then we're going to go ahead and put the wanachi in at that point too. Let's just really quickly, I want to see if we can maybe get this to be exactly like 313 or something. Okay, that's fine. So let's go ahead and put this in for 10 minutes. Place this. There we go. And that's going to go. So at 13:23, we will then remove both of them. And then once we remove both of them, we will then want to cool the wort down to 20 degrees Celsius. So in other words, want to turn the boiler off at that point too. So we'll go back to our timer here, and we're going to go to 3:23. Hopefully not forget timings we're going to work here. Let's go 100 times speed is fine. 13:23 is what we're looking for. Pretty close to this. Yeah, I think that's probably good enough. Yeah, good enough. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. And we can remove this and go ahead and turn off the boiler. So at this stage, we're pretty much done with everything that requires this to be hot. And so the pot is going to now begin to cool. And you can see it starting to cool. But the cooling down part, it's going to take a while, okay? It's going to take a long while because, you know, water doesn't just cool down really quickly. So again, we can use the timer if we'd like to speed time ahead to cool it down. But there's another method. And honestly, at 500 times speed, it's going to take a long time for this to cool down. So there is another method that you can use to accelerate time in big chunks. And you're going to use this a lot too. And that is this calendar right here. Rather than speeding time up ahead 1,000 times speed, we can just go ahead and use the calendar and advance time 1 day. So let's just go ahead and do that. So it's been a day. And now that it's been a day, we can take a look at the pot. It's definitely down to 20 degrees Celsius, just like we wanted, and we're ready for the next step. So let's go ahead and go next. What we want to do now is transfer this to a fermentation container. So I'm just going to put the pot over here for now. You see our contamination is currently at 3.4%. And it's possible that I could have played that a little better, maybe let it cool down just a little bit more and then put the cap on it. There's lots of other little things that we can maybe experiment with to try to drive down that contamination. So what we want to do now is get a fermentation container, and that is going to require us to go into here, our equipment cupboard. We're going to go to this container, and we want the small fermentation container. This is great for allowing our stuff to ferment in it. It's got this really cool lid on the top of it, which is going to let the carbon dioxide escape so it doesn't get trapped up in here. So we're going to basically remove this lid, and then we're going to pour this, our brew currently, into this container. And there we go. Awesome. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to add some yeast to this. And for this, we're going to want the SoCal Ale yeast. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to get this, the SoCal Ale 1. All right. Has 80% attenuation, which is the percentage of fermentable sugars that the yeast will convert into alcohol and CO2 during the fermentation process. So we're going to go ahead and retrieve this, and we're just going to dump the whole thing in here. Yeah, 150 grams is what we need. This is 150 milliliters. I think that's pretty, yeah, there's 150 grams in here. So the whole container goes, because the whole container is the quantity we want to put in. Okay, so that's that. We're going to go ahead and just put the lid back on it. You can see before I put the lid on it, we were getting contamination being added, and we probably still are a little bit, but it has the ability now to at least ferment. And what we want to do is we want to ferment this at 20 degrees Celsius for 15 days. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this there, and we can put the pot in the sink, maybe clean it. We're ready to go for another brew. Now, we could do that. Since this has to sit here for 15 days, we could just like set it over here out of the way and just let that thing go, right? And then we can continue on for, you know, brew another batch, whatever we want to do while that's going. But for the purposes of this little tutorial video, if you will, this purpose of this little video we're making today, we're just going to go ahead and use the calendar to progress for 15 days. So I'll just put this back over here. So 15 days on the calendar, right about like that. And we're good to go. Okay, so 15 days, all done. And as we come back over here, we have currently considered our contamination is 13.419%. Okay, so it's definitely not the flavor we're looking for right now. But we have other things to do. For example, we need to add corn sugar to this. Now, right now you can notice the contamination is not going up anymore. The far right column of your X-ray mode shows the rate at which changes are happening, and currently no changes are happening. If I take this lid off, you'll notice that contamination could start as I proceed. It doesn't look like it's going to now, but it could start if it's still fermenting. So just keep an eye on those types of stats and stuff. And if you're taking your lid off, for example, during this process, then that's a bad deal. So corn sugar, what we're going to do is grab this. Now, this corn sugar bag is 500 grams. Okay, you can see it in the middle of the screen down there below. It's 500 grams. But we only want to add 170 grams. Okay, so we're going to want to pour this into it, but we're not going to want to pour all of it. So we're going to go slower, and we're going to take a look at the milliliters poured. And we want to try to hit 170 on that white number that says milliliters poured or grams poured. So we're just going to try to hit 170, or at least as close to 170 as we can. And I went a little too far, but hey, that's what it is. Put it there. And we'll go ahead and I guess you can see all the changes that are taking place in there right now, right? The next thing we want to do is we want to transfer this whole thing to a conditioning container. Now, the conditioning container is this little plastic barrel here, okay? And this little plastic barrel is what we're going to put this into here. But if we remove the lid, you're going to notice you can't just pick this up and pour it in there. It doesn't work. All right, it's redded out, if you will. It's highlighted red. It won't work. You can't pour that in there, all right? So to get this in there, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to use a tube. So this tube is going to allow us to basically suck the liquid out of this and put it in there, all right? So in order to do that, we need to use gravity, and that means this container needs to be lower than that container. So we're going to put this on the floor, I guess, and then this tube is going to connect here with E, and then we're going to connect the other end to this side, E. And by doing that, you're going to, if we take a look at the container, you're going to see that the liquid is transferring, over. So you can see that there's less liquid in this container now. And if I look over at this one, there is more liquid in this container as it's slowly building up. Now inside this container, you're also going to see there's an amount that is undissolved. And that is the amount in this container that is not going to transfer. This is like more solid or whatever. It's heavy, right? It's undissolved in liquid. So we're going to lose at this point a little bit of what's in this container. And as a result, we're not going to be able to transfer a full 20 liters to this. If you want the liquid to flow just a little bit faster, you could do this another way by placing the cap back on the fermentation container, or you can leave it off. I guess it doesn't really matter in this point, but you can actually take this tube and attach it to the tap in the front of this barrel, and then attach the other side of the tube the same way to the plastic barrel down here. By opening the tap at the top with this tube attached to it, the liquid will also flow, and it flows just a tiny bit faster. But to be honest, you're probably going to use time acceleration to get through this part anyway, so it's really up to you and how you want to do it. Okay, so all transferred, ready to go, and you can see we do have 795 grams of undissolved stuff in here, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So what we're going to want to do is we're just going to pick this up and we can put those away. This is what we're on about right here. This is our brew. This is our beer. So let's attach the lid. And we're going to let this go for 21 more days. You see, that's the step, 21 days. And then it's taste and package it. So let's go ahead and do that. 21 days in there. You could just accelerate time like this. And wouldn't you know it, we've been doing this for over a month for this much beer. We've been working at it for over a month, but here we are. You can see the contamination did eventually settle at 8.419%. And we have all the different stats about this beer. So how did we do? How close did we get to the recipe? Because I know I over poured a little bit, had a little bit more water than I should have. Maybe I took the hops out just a little bit too early or too late or whatever, right? So how close did we get this beer? Well, we come over here to this little tap area. This is where we taste and package. So let's go ahead and hit E here. And you're going to see, you're going to get this display of the brew, and it's going to start getting rated a little bit. So currently right now, you can see that we have 10.9 SRM. That's a little darker than what we wanted to aim for. If we hover over top of it, it'll actually show you what the pinned recipe called for. So in this case, our color is at 10.8, and we were looking for 9.6. So it's just a tad darker than what we would normally get from this American Pale Ale. Carbonation, we hit that pretty close. We were wanting to look at 2.34. We ended up with 2.476. So not too bad. And you can see the batch size, we're looking to get 20 as our actual small. So we're a little bit light on that. And if we want to get a full small batch, if you will, quote unquote, to get to 20 liters, we just simply need to add water to this. And you do that, but you can't pour directly into this. So you do that by basically putting water inside that pot again, and then using a tube to transfer it into this until you have 20 liters if you want to. So basically, you're gonna change the composition of your beer by adding water, but and actually that might actually cause us to be lighter and maybe closer to what we wanted. Albeit it'll also make it a little more flat too, which is actually kind of fine for us because we're a little bit more carbonated than we need to be too. So let's go ahead and hit this. We go to slight page 2, and we're looking at slightly malty and sweet. Okay, that's good. We have all these different rankings and stuff that goes for our beer, including crisp and clean, dark and roasted. We're not there. We're malty and sweet, 8.5. And then you can see our different aromas and the different flavors and stuff that we have. And I think we're pretty close on what we were looking for there. On the taste, alcohol by volume, we were calling for 5.36. We do have a 5.94. We are also quite dark compared to our target. We're a little darker, and so ABV being a little higher is pretty common for that to happen. Those two things are usually associated with each other. Darker beers tend to have a higher alcohol by volume. Bitterness, you can see that we're at 45.749 IBUs, and our target was 45.16. So we're really close to target on the bitterness. Did a pretty good job on that. We have a medium body, our contamination being 8.4%. We want to reduce this as much as possible, but we're going to have a little off flavoring, if you will. This is the amount of off flavors in the beer. The hover says that the lower the contamination, the higher the quality of the beer. It can be reduced by good brewing practices, such as leaving the lid off when boiling wort so that unwanted chemicals can escape. For a full list, you can see also the Brewpedia. It'll tell you a full list of all the different things you can do to reduce contamination. Original gravity and our final gravity is right on the money, man. Really good. Final thing here, it's going to show you your beer style. And American Pale Ale, we're good. We've got the recipe matched. So this matches our pinned recipe, and we can submit this if we'd like to. And we have all the things we need, all the details here. Now, the one final thing here, and I really love that they've gone ahead and done this detail, is that as you hit continue, you can now choose how your packaging is. Not only the packaging, but the glass in which it is served in if you're going out to local pubs and stuff. So we can name this whatever we want. In this case, I could name it, Charlie's Ale or something. It doesn't really have to be anything, but I just want to show you that the label does change in real time. This is Charlie's American Ale. And it gets really small, so I could probably just shorten this to Charlie's Ale. That's fine. I want this to be bigger like that. It's an American IPA. We can have a different style, but this is what we want. American Pale Ale right here is what we want. So we'll go ahead and confirm that. And then bottle. Right now, all we have is the Belgian, but we're going to unlock the longer neck, so we could use that later if we want to. The glass, we're currently using a tulip. I think probably this one is better with going with a nonic pint, to be honest. But you can change it to a beer mug if you'd like. The goblet, there's that tulip. The IPA would usually be in here. Here's the stout. Here's a Weizen. Here's the Pilsner. But I think I'm going to use a nonic pint in this because I think that's more appropriate for this type of beer. So I'm going to use this. And then the label maker. Really fun part here. You can choose the design of your labels. And you can get pretty detailed if you'd like to. You can choose your alcohol by volume text. Do you want that to be bigger? Show everybody that this is 6%. It's 5.9 something, but yeah, we'll go with 6%. You can change its position if you'd like to. All these intricate details of every individual element of this. Or if you're not really into the custom design of things, and I'm talking like you can change the different shine on the different borders. Let me show you background, right? So we can use gradients if you'd like to. We can make it more of a metallic. And if we do that, you can see there's actually a design that's in here too. And so if I wanted to, I could maybe change the color of that. Have it be has like a blue shine to it almost, right? That's kind of cool. Maybe that logo that's there, maybe I want that to be just a bit different, or maybe I want it to be a bit larger or smaller, or I want to move it up. So let's make it smaller. Maybe we'll move it up a little bit so it's not over top of Charlie's Ale. And then we're going to make this metallic too, so it kind of stands out more, and we can give it a little bit of roughness. And then finally the color, let's change it to like I don't know, I was going to go with like a blue, but I can just go dark with it, like maybe like right here. That's kind of fine to me. And so you can tweak things, right? Or and again, you can choose a different texture if you want. So maybe you want it to be like this, like science, right? Or you can choose like others things like the rooster and stuff. You can kind of go nuts with it. You can go nothing at all if you'd like to as well. It's up in the air. So maybe we could choose this one. That's kind of nice. We have a little bit of a woody flavor to it as well, right? Or if you'd like to, you can just go with a template. If you don't want to deal with all the different customizations, you could just choose a pre-made template that's already there. So like I can go like this. That's pretty sweet. Charlie's Ale, huh? And it'll modify the name according to what you've named it and everything. And look, now it's that tree, but it's this design instead. That sounds pretty good. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and confirm this. All said and done. And we can now submit our beer for that job if we want to. So we'll just hit submit and let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So it looks to me like we've met all the requirements for this. We can submit it if we'd like to. This is our tracked job, and dark matter would have given us 50 here. Looks like this gives us the long neck instead, which is fine. We still have some stuff instead. Looks like actually this one gives us 25. Yeah, I'm not reading this correctly. So the 25 is not reflected here, but it's down here. So anyway, let's submit this and see what happens. says it's completed. And the organizers of a local food festival are looking for a special beer to celebrate the year's theme of sensational citrus. So that's what we've done. We've added it there. All done. Okay, cool. So that is Brewmaster so far. We've submitted that beer, and here's our bottle. We can take a look at it if you'd like to. We can also rotate it on the table. So I want to just go ahead and let's put it on the table here and just get up a little closer to it, yeah? Yeah. Looks pretty good. I like it. Now, as you brew more, that containment, that little container, we will start to place them in here, and you can, reference different flavors and stuff that you've had in the past, and try to perfect your brew. See what you've had before, and you go from there. And if you want to, you can play around with different flavors and stuff, and submit them for different jobs to get your stuff tracked and to progress the game even further, right? But we've got one mastery level, and we can work our way towards a home brewer now if we wanted to as well. So this has been your introduction to Brewmaster. I hope you have had a wonderful day. I hope you guys have some really great ideas for beer. And if you are someone who is a bit of a beer connoisseur, I've probably had, without exaggeration, I've probably had over 1,000 different types, brands, brews, if you will, of beer in my life so far. And